Thank you, everyone. So I have quite a lot of slides today. So I try to go quick so we have a little bit of time for questions. And if not, we can talk at lunch. So me, I'm Jonathan Rivalen, representing the Smile company. Today we will have an extended presentation of Palindrome.js, extended in regards of where I presented this first, which was at a NI3E conference, more of an academic conference, and I adapted these slides towards today open source monitoring conference. And just for saying it, the small Nefele logo you see top, bottom right is part of a European project. And this whole talk, presentation, activity is actually supported by the Nefele project, aside, of course, OSMC. So today we will have a short introduction where I will present my company, myself, my team, my co-workers. Then we will go towards the problem definition. We'll have a very quick background check, more of a state of the art. We will go back to the original design and I will provide some examples. We will go quickly within the implementation we propose, and we will take a bit more time to talk about the ability to automate the states retrieval with our open source tool. So Smile, we are an open source services provider, one of the biggest at the European scale. We are about 2,000 employees, co-workers, doing a lot of web development, web hosting, embedded development. We are fully present, let's say, in Europe. We are also in Ukraine, in Morocco. We are about 30 years old existence, and me, within Smile, I'm the R&D manager. I manage a Smile R&D team, which is a mix of PhDs, engineers. We welcome a lot of students, internship, people that want to do PhDs actually. And we are working year-long with our colleagues who are Smile engineers. So going into today's talk, we were actually initially wondering how we could monitor distributed systems in, let's say, a seamless way. So before I present the solution, we went forth maybe a bit of thinking of what those distributed systems are. So computer systems are evolved in time from a single machine to virtual machines to microservices, and nowadays even smaller execution instances such as a function as a service. So you could argue, yeah, it's a bit of a broad summary. It is, but then it provides these ideas that from one machine for one application, we went to consider a lot of different execution instances. Moreover, with as a service, and that's only a part of what the DevOps methodology tools provided us, we are considering more and more abstraction within the monitoring effort. So pricing, the energy efficiency, which is very trendy nowadays. Either you are doing some regulatory kind of monitoring, or you are working over big cloud instances. You have more and more attention, focus towards how much energy is used, and in some cases, relation to the CO2 emissions. You could have completely different domain-oriented concerns, such as cybersecurity, privacy, respect or lack of. And mixing a bit of all this, we understand that the modern monitoring effort should consider various instances, various architecture levels, various scales, units, and also paces, as in time-oriented paces. In the end, so Smile and so the Nefele partners, understand that we are in need for a new kind of solution, a multi-level, multi-dimensional, at least visual. And we will see that from the ability to visualize, we can also extract information, do other kind of analytics that could actually put together large amount of metrics from different sources, metrics from different dimensions, as in informational dimensions, and maybe even a mix of metrics, raw metrics, the data I get out of a system, a sensor, and higher level business-oriented KPIs. So that was the previous slide, was the only one I had previously. And for this talk, I tried to go into a little bit more of details towards what we are considering today as typical monitoring dashboards. So again, a bit of history. If we are considering containers, they are not really new. They have about 10 years in existence if we consider Docker, more like 15 years-ish. Sorry. If you are considering the Linux containers, the LXC ability of Linux, when talking virtual machines, so this is a bit of a hard to define precisely thing in the computer history, because initial virtual machines were more the ability to isolate a process within a system. The full hardware virtual machine, the virtual machine we are talking commonly, daily, let's say, is more something of the early 2000s. So for all these distributed, decentralized solutions, what monitoring and what dashboarding solutions already exist? And actually, what problem they cannot tackle in their current form? So we produced a few examples which are based over what we can observe in terms of rhythm for typical metrics, sometimes CPU, sometimes RAM, sometimes IOs, GPU IOs. And we are actually seeing in these so fake examples what a single dashboard graph looks like for 100 metrics. So if we go into a little bit of details, trying to analyze further each of them, we cannot see pretty much. What is lacking there is the fine relation of what the time series is in regards to the metric it has been received from. It's very hard to say, oh, this line, it is this metric. And also, in the current time frame, we are considering it, what is its state? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it bad? Is it good? So time series visualization in typical dashboarding itself does not provide the understanding of either where is it from, and also what is its current state in regards to the value that is being displayed. Or you have special abilities that enable you to have a better understanding. We went just a bit further, and we provided this one with 1,000 metrics. And at this point, you find yourself with a mix of forms. And what we just want to highlight here is that in the 2D space, you quickly, so quickly is that always a matter of scale, but you may find yourself with a pixel-based limitation. And at this moment, you are lacking a number of pixels. You cannot really do anything rather than distributing the information over various graphs. So it's a bit grayish. I'm sorry. On this screen, I see good. On this one, a bit less. But what we see here is an effort at reproducing, again, a mock-up dashboard made of few graphs. So again, if you are really expert into your domain, and obviously as an OPS system administrator, a DevOps engineer, an operator, you should be. But let's say on a larger scale, maybe for a larger audience, understanding the relation between the metrics the different metrics, the different data point, may be of difficulty. And again, we find ourselves without an understanding of the state at the various moment in time. Is this good? Is this bad? No one pretty much knows. So we see that in the typical monitoring ways, people, they tend to go out of the graph representation, so the raw representation of the matrix, to provide higher level kind of indicators, sometimes time-based, sometimes value-based. With this one, I finally find back the idea of a state. Am I in a good position? Am I in a bad position in regards of the data I'm observing, I'm monitoring? But then again, as soon as I do this, I lose the detail. So now a question is, how can I keep a detailed vision, a detailed understanding of the processes that I'm monitoring, while retrieving also state information, higher level definitions, and such. So to sum up a bit this consideration of the 2D typical dashboarding, we understand that it limits scaling. First, it's hard to actually read and display a large number of metrics. So if you have few metrics, few machines, few services, you can have them in a 2D screen. And if not, you need actually a new solution. If you do actually try to insert many metrics, you may find yourself with difficulties in regards to analyzing the behavior. So within metrics at the same time, CPU metrics, RAM metrics, storage metrics, it may be easy to actually see a difference between one candidate and the others. But between the various metrics you have, that may be even more complicated. And if you actually begin to distribute your metrics between different screens, so we saw here an example with only one screen, it's even harder to see from screen 1 to screen 2 to screen X what is the evolution in time of your values. So you may rely over non-graphs components, we just seen here, but then the relation between the metrics are lost when you see this one, or even this one, which would be a sum up, typically so something that is very typical. So instead of displaying every single metric, you make a sum of them, and you only display the sum of the metric, but then you lose the detail of the distribution. You cannot say, oh, on this machine, this much CPU, on this other instance, this much RAM, and such. So in the end, you kind of lose the ability to understand your distributed systems in regards to the various architecture layers. So before we go to our solution, we went a bit exploring the state of the art, wondering if someone else, other teams, other approaches existed for two main questions, let's say, the multidimensionality one. So that would be the ability in one graph to represent multiple dimensions, typically multiple time dimensions. So you would have this 1 hour scale, and then you would have the 1 year scale, for example. So actually, from the academics effort, we find some examples where they would tend in a single graph to mix various timescale definition, or to try to mix various units for a single metric. But this is rare, let's say, and maybe sometimes a bit hard to read. Again, you need a specific expertise to understand the graph you've built forth with this kind of information. On the right, we have an effort for the large-scale visualization. Again, so it's a bit like a tree, but yes. I didn't want just to be like, oh, look, it's very small on the screen, you cannot read it, so I provided the zoom version. What is this is the network topology of routers. So this one, you begin to find a relation between the real distribution and what you visually see. But again, if you do not have this expertise into what it is trying to showcase, it's not providing so much extra information aside the physical representation. So you do get a specialized representation, but maybe not one that would be as generic as the monitoring would expect. So for this specific talk, I was like, but maybe 1 year, so it's about 1 year, I had the first version of this presentation. 1 year later, maybe new things came out, and so I could refresh a bit the comparative solutions. And I discovered this one, which is based over a framework called Nucleus, which is CT monitoring. And then I find myself with more, let's say, typical reflexes towards what I can understand from the monitoring. Now I have colors, I have related objects, states, so I can say, oh, this building is good, this one seems bad. So that puts me in a mindset where I can more easily understand the information from some monitoring screens. But again, this is not system monitoring. This is CT monitoring. So not very generic, not usable for any kind of monitoring use case. And going into this direction, when you are looking typically at what is sold, what is marketed as 3D monitoring nowadays, the question is, but isn't it actually digital twins rather than monitoring? And most of the time, it is. So you have this other one, which is a tunnel representations of a situation in 3D. And for those who would not know this solution, when you are thinking digital twins, you have the iTwin.js solution, which is very well known in the community because one of the only, if not the only, open source solution as of today that enable to model digital twins in a kind of a monitoring way. Problem of iTwin.js is that you would think that you have this 3D environment that you see live and evolve, but actually it's more of a screenshot. So you have a moment in time in 3D, but not actually the live feedback that a monitoring solution could provide. Funny enough, when looking at these solutions, I found this one, I was like, okay, so that should be the first level in 3D monitoring. You take the 2D monitoring, you put it in a 3D space, and then you have it. But again, those are medical informations, so you find yourself again pushed back towards the digital twins approach. So what is our proposal? What is our solution? First, we wanted to tackle the multi-level monitoring. So we took a simple, if not silly approach, where we would have a monitoring based over a layering system. So now, within one visual object, I find myself with actually the layers I want to focus over. So they could be of anything. They could be a cloud, edge, fog, machine 1, machine 2, machine 3, or more likely node 1, node 2, node 3, or levels of abstractions. Here in the initial design, we went for first resources at a local level, and then the quality of service at a more higher level, which was our initial goal, where we wanted to enable some scheduling based on the local observation. So locally, I would have this representation of my resources usage, and remotely, I could provide some information of the overall behavior for the system. So multi-level monitoring, multi-dimensional information. So those layers are built over various type of metrics. that enable to have a mix of the type of information that I would represent. CPU at a no time, a n time, bandwidth for, let's say, an amount of time, other kind of metrics such as the price, the energy, and so on. Going out of the design and see what it looks like in reality, we would have two examples here. So this one, it enabled us to win an academic, a big academic conference in the telecommunication field, because it enabled what we call nowadays the tactical orchestration, and it is when the scheduling of your computing effort is in relation to what happens in the real world, and more likely the IoT world, and even more precisely the drones world. So what we see here in terms of layering is that we mixed typical computing resources, cloud capacity, edge capacity, with higher level considerations, still very technical. Communications first, so when you are operating a drone fleet or an IoT infrastructure, one of the main concerns actually is the ability to communicate and to still deal with the data exchanges between the various computing, analytic, sensing points. And specifically to this one, even though it was a bit of a novelty for us, we tried to introduce some security-oriented feature and trying to put in relation the state of the computing infrastructure with what we could understand of the state of the cybersecurity. What we could think further would be that if we have a lack of cybersecurity at a moment in time, we could use the remaining resources to actually provide more live analytics, some extra software components and such. On the right side, we have one of our typical use cases where we take again the system resources as kind of a base for comparing different aspects. And we include the requests, so again, a network-oriented consideration, but the request as the very input of, let's say, my application efficiency. From the request, I can see if I have users, not, if it is used or not. I could be in this situation where I have close to no requests, but I'm using a lot of resources. Then it instantly tells me that I have, let's say, a problem in my capacity planning, and that I should either add resources, explore what is the state of the services execution. Maybe I have a problem if I'm using too much resources, and then I get no request. Something funny here is that we build up this business layer, and which is only considering more of the domain business intelligence considerations, like revenues, costs, and what is direct or indirect, either revenues or costs. So you could argue, yeah, it's okay, but you have only 20 or 30 metrics. It's quite easy. Previously, we were like 100, 1,000 metrics. What about you in this situation? So here you have the 500 metrics. So we did not scale it one-to-one. I'm sorry. And not to sell my proposition, but even if it is 500 metrics, and as you see it very scaled down in the slide, you can already understand the variation between the various layers. So here we have 100 layers corresponding to 100 machines. I can easily see the state of the resources consumption for each of the layers. And it can be, oh, this one is in a red state. This one is in a yellow state. And then if I have any problem at an applicative level, I can quickly explore towards the red ones and be like, what is happening to you? Do you lack resources? Do you have any kind of problems in data ingestion or something else? And then, since, so this is one of the features of our application, I can easily zoom in. When we were in 2D, I could zoom in the graph, but that would not tell me much that what I would not understand before. Now I can zoom in into the probe. And while zooming in, the level, so that would be the depth of detail, is only increasing down to the point where I have the full understanding of what is the current situation for this specific layer I was observing. In some cases, that I'm lacking bandwidth, that I'm lacking RAM, and so on. I can obviously, so this is a kind of a new feature for us, stack them into a dashboard, and now I built my own 3D probes dashboard here made of, so I'm not fully sure, I guess 50 to 100 metrics each. And I can, again, as an operator, gain into my ability, my ease of understanding situation from the various metrics I'm observing. So I can, for example, build a cloud server, a palindrome, a GPU one, an HPC one, a storage one, a database one, and so on. If you're like, yeah, you are losing a lot of space, I can put them together and be really extreme into my ability to display the information in a relevant state. Going towards the implementation quickly, so we had this care about providing what we would call an extensive API. So everything you see in the palindrome is the result of a configuration. So everything is adaptable to your situation, your liking, your customer expectations, and so on. Most, if not everything, is based over a JSON API. And this is interesting. So this is top left into the images, how we will define one metric into one layer. And something that I'd like to highlight to you is our ranges definition. So I say, okay, at this moment in time, the metric is like 200, and it has a min, med, and max ranges. And basically, we expect the current value of the metric to travel between these various ranges. And that's what gives to us the color feedback, so the state feedback for each of the metric. So that would be for the API. We propose everything we can in terms of playgrounds. So we have what we call a dev environment. So when you go to our repository, you can really just click and test and begin to configure. And what you see here is the interactive configuration that is made available out of Storybook. So if we have JavaScript developers, they may know about Storybook as a very convenient way to configure JavaScript components. We just reached this year Grafana integration. So you're like, oh yeah, talking about 2D. But that was actually a goal to us to have this mix of possibilities. So we worked with the Grafana team, so we can now have the palindrome made directly available into the Grafana dashboard as a plugin. And we also introduce what we call a small DSL, so it's a specific kind of pseudo language to ease the palindrome.js Grafana definition with a very simple API. So you would not find yourself with the full extended API we have over the typical JavaScript library, only the subset of options. But then if you are an expert, you can easily increase them. So obviously, because Smile were an open source oriented company, because the research effort within Smile is only following this trend, we have this strong open source goal, and everything you see as of today is made available as Apache 2.0 licensing, including the CI/CD pipeline, the various development environment I told you about. We also provide Palindrome.js as a React native, so a native React component, a native Vue component, and a native Angular component. Last, so this is more of a research point of view. So with Palindrome.js, we consider a lot of innovation, a lot of novelty. But while we were developing it, we wondered ourselves, but are we not providing something very new, actually, in the ability to retrieve the states? By retrieving the states, that would be identifying automatically the quality level of a state situation. So usually, when you do monitoring, you subscribe metrics to your dashboard, and you see the dashboard. You may have hope that seeing the metrics that give you a visual feedback over the state or not. And actually, if you think automation and supervision, you would plug to your monitoring an alerting system. And within the alerting system, you would develop actually rules that would tell you if the metric is in this level of value, or if this set of metrics is in this current range of value, you have a yellow state, a red state, and so on. So us, taking back what I presented you with this ranges definition for each metric, we have the ability to actually, at a layer level, so we have a bit of computation happening within the front-end layer. We have the ability to say, oh, but actually for this set of metric, we understand the current state not for a single metric point, but for this whole situation is either bad, medium, good, good. Actually, the different grains, levels, you would like to define them. So it can be bad or good, bad, medium, good, very bad, about good, and very good. And this is made automatically after the metrics definition. So basically, you find yourself in a situation where you don't have to define the aggregation of the states to actually have information. So you just said my metric, I know it. It should be for this kind of machine 10, 20, 30, for example. And the Palindrome.js system, it will provide visually the state, not only for this metric, but for all the metric building your layer. And that is exactly what you want. A layer can be a machine, a set of machine, a set of metric. It could be me, my consideration is the mix of CPU time, price, energy, something else, water, some more domain-oriented thing. And that gives us this, in a way, free states declaration, where from the declaration of the single metric state, I can find the distributed system, the overall distributed system state. So going one step further, so now I automated, in a way, the state definition. I am just declaring metrics, and I retrieve myself with as many states as I have these metrics sets. What about plugging OpenCV to that? So OpenCV, that's open framework for computer vision, which is very well known and one of the main solutions in the open source community. So basically what we did is that we provided the palindrome with a very light, you see, conditional system to OpenCV, and we were like, if it's green, it's good, if it's red, it's bad, basically. And we left the computer vision solution gives us a structured feedback over our situation. So now it's not only me as the operator that is like, oh, it's good or it's bad. I'm retrieving a structured information for the current state of as many metrics I provided to the palindrome and therefore to OpenCV. So just to proceed, so this is roughly the workflow we've been set up. We retrieve the metrics, we display them into Palindrome.js. From there, we have the choice, either we take screenshots or we provide a video stream to OpenCV, and OpenCV builds for us a structured data structure, sorry for that actually indicates us what are the various statuses of the various systems we are observing at this moment of time. So just to give the visual example, I can be either all green, everything is going okay. I can have some idle systems. In our use case, when the yellow color is analyzed, and if I find myself into these red situations, then I will raise some alerts and either stop the system, either scale up, scale down, again in relation to what I'm currently doing. Reaching the conclusion slide. So this is not something we've been working like few weeks, few months. We had the idea and we rushed at doing it. The initial implementation design I've shown you, it's almost 5 years old. We had this very early proof of concept. People, they were very amused with it. It was like, oh, it looks cool, but what does it achieve? How to use it? And so in the years, we improved the code base, obviously, improved the APIs, implement some use cases. We've been quite lucky in the sense that research teams, they came to us and were very interested into using it to foster new kind of distributed, obviously, use cases. And nowadays, we find ourselves with new goals, new questions. What we would like to do is to provide a methodology for improving what I had called the formal information retrieval. So now we have OpenCV, but it's not fully exact. So we are like 99% precision for small use cases, but the bigger the use case you would have, the bigger the loss of precision you would have as well. So we believe that a new methodology may achieve some exact formal information retrieval. We would like to also tackle low-end computer, or more likely microcontrollers. So this is JavaScript based. You would not execute this easily, let's say, over a Raspberry Pi. You may launch the application, see few metrics, but for example, the 500 metrics palindrome as shown, you would not be able to interact with it if you would not have some kind of powerful computer. We are working with some of the regulators, W3C, through our research projects, to actually think of a monitoring way for everything that is IoT related, and nowadays what is called the WOT standards for Web of Things, considering that we will have more and more IoTs within the overall systems description in the future. And in the end, so not directly related to this low-end computing, we have this JavaScript implementation nowadays, and we may like to explore other programming language for tackling more high performance use cases. That would be it for me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are there any questions? It was very mind-bending, but very interesting. There was a question here?
Yeah, thanks for the great presentation. It was a new way of looking at metrics, I would say, for me at least. One thing I missed, how do you get back in history? So me as an operator, if my clients complained 3 hours ago, we saw some degradation in the service, how do I navigate in the palindrome 3 hours back in time?
So that's a very good question. Actually, as of today, we are more considering end time. We had some thoughts that the color system we have, it could reflect how old the state would be. That could be darker, you see, as longer it is. That could be lighter if it is recent, let's say. But that would not give, again, the precise ability to travel through time. So we are actually building a system of backend. So in the backend, we would store the information a bit in a Prometheus way. So at the moment, we consume Prometheus that we can display directly. We consume Prometheus that we can cache. And through this caching solution, you may find yourself with a cursor or a selector component that may help you to travel through time, let's say. Not fully available today.
There was another question behind, am I right? Yes, sir, or no? Yeah.
Yeah, I had a question about the metrics. How easy is to customize metrics within the Palindrome data source, and how easily, if in general, is to customize if you wanted to, do specific things that you wanted for your use case?
So I'd say very easily. That's the first level of answer. You can easily provide specific configuration for one metric. Is the value, is it going outwards or inwards? Should it be either red or purple or black, you see, for its various ranges? What would be difficult into customizing the metrics, so that would be the second level of the answer, is something more typical in the DevOps world, that is writing the PromQL, for example, that provides you the exact metric as you want to see it fit. So once you have your data point, it's very easy to customize. It's a JSON object. At first, you can. It is not even mandatory. You can just provide the current ranges or the observed ranges you'd like for your metric. Then add up maybe some more color-oriented options. So this part is very easy. The more difficult part is actually to design your metric out of Prometheus, for example. So that's really the information that you want to display.
Any further questions? If not, I have a question. Maybe just to clarify. So from my understanding, so each layer, each points in a layer represent one or metrics of an object. Is that right?
So yes and no.
All right.
The layer is an abstraction. So you very put it clearly. You have points within a set, and this set can be made of about anything. So the easy definition for the imagination is to think as a single machine. So one machine, one layer, and those metric points are the metrics out of this machine. But then it's also in relation to
So I
imagination.
can choose what semantic the layer, the points in relation to each other mean.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So, but then, and the same would go for the connections between two layers. So what? Because I didn't fully understand the semantic, the lines between two layers carry. So
So it is either a visual helper, either it is not related to reality. So
but would that be an idea to have the lines carry more semantics, so you get more information
Obviously.
on less space?
obviously, so very interesting. This is a bit harder to achieve algorithmically speaking. So again, us who are iterating, we are considering the result we have today as a advanced prototype in a way, and we are trying again to provide more relevant information. So this is very, to give more of a detailed example, I could have 10 metrics and 5 on one layer on the bottom layer and 5 metrics on the upper layer. So they are either related, either not. And in one case, that makes sense, that we would have lines relating one to another, and in another case, not. What we do today is not in relation to, is not based over the lines connecting the points, but over the colors. So you have color at a layer level, and you have a color in between two layers. So now I can see that the relation between two layers has its specific state, which is yet something else to to get used to when using the palindrome. So we do provide a semantic information based over colors rather over visual objects.
Thank you.
Very, very good point.
There is another question.
Yeah, thank you for the amazing presentation. I'm floating somewhere. Do you have a demo, perhaps?
Do I have a demo like on my laptop? You can go to GitHub and see for yourself. We have a GitHub pages made available. So you just go, click, and you have fully access to the development environment for the Palindrome.js. And if you go a bit further into our documentation, you even have a GitHub pages with a storybook instance. So that really gives you the full ability to test and customize for yourself. If you do so, putting a star to us is very welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? If not, big applause. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you.